All right, hey guys, welcome to this video. So before we get into the details of selling, there are sort of like processes that are going to get you to be selling, and you've got to decide whether you are going to do one or the other. They are either having a collection or making a new release every week or so. What is the difference between the two? In my thoughts, I actually realized it's a lot like music. A collection could be compared to like having a CD where you have 12 tracks, you release them all at once, and that is it. A new release is like having singles that you release every second month, just to keep you relevant, and instead of releasing a whole body of work, whether you invest in it, time, marketing, everything, right? Like that. So how do they differ? A collection will basically be not quite like this. I was thinking of using this as an example, but it could be. A collection will basically have similarities between your pieces. So whether it is the fabric that you're using across your pieces, or it is the color you're using across your pieces, there's similarity and a collectiveness within the collection. I think it's quite tricky to define a word without using the word. So like a collection is a collection, no. But the group of items serve the same purpose or similar purpose. For example, a winter collection will consist of pieces that are there to keep you warm. There'll be longer sleeves, thicker fabrics, longer lengths, and so on. Whereas maybe a summer collection might consist of lighter fabrics, a same or similar color, like variations of your orange maybe, or a whole black collection where you have several black items. They might not necessarily be all a solid black, or it might be black with a stripe, or whatever the case is, and so on. Whereas then the new releases is what I use, and I love this model entirely, because what it allows me to do is to release a new clothing item once in a while. So I try to do it every second week, but sometimes you get busy. But ideally I would be releasing 2 items a month, one every 2 weeks. And now I'm going to go into the advantages and disadvantages of both. So with the collection, much like ready to wear, well, it is actually ready to wear, is that you will produce your items all in one go, which allows you to achieve economies of scale. And as a business, you want to achieve economies of scale because when you are producing in bulk, the cost becomes cheaper because the cost is spread across the various items. Very, very basic example, like if you were to be asked to make a cake for a wedding, that one cost would be a lot more in the one cake as opposed to someone asking you to make 30 cakes for their shop. Then you know that 125 kg can make X amount of cakes. Whereas you might need to buy, I don't bake, so don't judge me. Whereas maybe you might need to buy a 5 kg for a one wedding cake. So you get to spread cost along or across various products, which enables you to achieve economies of scale. And once it becomes a standardized process, for example, if you have someone working on it and they are making 20 pairs of pants, it basically goes faster. I don't know, it's called a learning curve. The more you do it, the quicker and easier and better you get at it as you keep going. So economies of scale is great. The second, I'm looking back at my notes, guys. I look at my notes a lot. I've got a book, but today they're on my laptop. The second one is that you have a well put together collection where you can use one model in your photo shoot. You have the same photographer, and it's very neat, clean, and on brand. And when we discuss branding later on, these are things that drive your brand's quality or premiumness, as opposed to what I do, where I just take pictures with my iPhone, I post them, and that's it. When you have a collection, you have the opportunity to dedicate a day to shoot all the items and then promote them as they come out. Disadvantages is that you invest a lot in a collection, number one. Number two is that when your items are done and are hanging like this, money is hanging. This is money sitting here because it's not yet selling. Which then once it starts selling, then your money starts coming in. But it's not going to come in all in one go the same way you paid for everything all in one go, which is part of it. The second disadvantage is that if you're like me and you get bored of repeating yourself, it gets boring to promote a collection, because say you have a winter collection, if you are going to promote it for over a period of 3 months, I think winter's 3 months here, you are going to get tired of promoting the same thing over and over and over. But you know how there's always a problem, there's always a solution. Solution to that would be maybe to plan your items or your collection over the 3 months period. So if you have 6 items, that would be 2 items per month that you're releasing and you're promoting, meaning that by the time you get to the end of winter, people feel like they've been getting new clothes or new releases the whole time. And that is it. I'm now going to go into the new releases system, which is what I use. I love it. In a nutshell, basically, I create one item, I sell it, and as I'm selling it, the money I'm making there, I'm using to pay for the production of the second product. And when that starts selling, the money I get from there, I use to produce another product. And that is why I love this system or type of selling, because it enables you to see your business fund itself a lot quicker than a collection does. That is the first and biggest example, number one. And number two is that you don't need the whole 20,000 Rand to invest in a collection. You could really start off with 1,000 Rand, 2,000 Rand, 3,000 Rand to create your first piece, promote that, and whatever money will come in will then sustain you and or sustain the business, in the sense that the next product is being paid for by the first product, which is what I love about this type of selling. In terms of other advantages is that, like me, I love having new content. So that means if I have a new product every second week, it's something new for my people or my customers to see, which keeps them engaged for a very long time, which I believe a collection is not really that great at, because I mean, if you've seen the whole collection, how many times can you post the same thing? Is it fun really? I don't know, unless you're doing it like I suggested, releasing them over a period of time. The next advantage is that you're flexible. So like in the example I've made, where one item pays for the next item, pays for the next item, if in between all these items the trend becomes leopard print, this enables you to say, oh great, my next item is going to be leopard print. So fashion is all about fast fashion. Trends come and go. And in another video, I'll try to remember what video it was, and if I do, I'll link it down. You need to jump and basically leverage trends, because that is how you make money. Whilst something is in, that is how people make money. For example, biggest example, gin is suddenly, well, not suddenly, let me say, gin has become a more consumed type of alcohol in South Africa over the past year, two. I don't know the exact time, but it's really become such a thing. And brands who have always been there, like Gordon's, are now leveraging this, because why? They are a cheaper brand, and you know, if you're not like the brand conscious person and you just buy a brand because it's there or something special, you gain. So example like that is the trend. And when, for example, gin is now out of the window and whiskey is the new thing, if the company is robust enough, they might create a whiskey to jump on that trend and discontinue it, and so on and so on. And now for the disadvantages. One thing is that like with any clothing business, not all your designs will sell, but like I always say, where there's a problem, there is always a solution. And when things are not selling, the best and easiest thing to do is put things on sale. And when we get to our advertising and promotions video, I'm going to go more into detail about that. But with the items that don't sell, you have options to do things. One, you put it on sale. Two, you get it or you have it as part of a giveaway where you're willing to let it go for free if it's going to generate likes and comments and tagging on your page. Or you can give it to an influencer who will post it and then drive traffic to your page. So there's a lot that you can do with things that don't sell. But my most favorite is to put them on sale because I don't want to lose the coin. We're all about securing the coin or the bag. Okay, now that you've decided on the system you're going to use, whether it's a collection based or it's new releases every week, you've got to decide how you're going to sell. Is it going to be through a physical store where you actually have people walking in and trying on clothes, or is it going to be online, whether it's social media or an online store? I'm going to go through both with the advantages and disadvantages. Barbara McKenzie basically sells online, and we have our online store as well as social media, where both on Facebook and Instagram you can actually tag your products. It's a process that only happens when you have a Facebook page for a brand, then you connect it to Instagram, and then you can tag your products. Quite a process, but if you need help with that, I'm happy to help. But I will be going deeper into it in another video. Advantages of this is that it is so cheap, guys. It costs close to nothing. The only thing you're paying for is data, Wi-Fi or internet, whatever you want to call it. You're not paying rent. And as someone who had a store once upon a time, the rent crippled me and the partner that I had at the time. We basically were two brands who came together to sell in one store. Honey, if you don't need to have a store, don't do it. I read in an article with her clothing store, I think it's SA Pregos, she deliberately avoids having a physical walk-in store because it is so expensive. Never mind just the rent. You've got to paint, set up, put shelves up. You've got to pay someone to be there the whole day. You've got to invest in security. You've got to pay electricity and water. It's an expensive task. If you have the riches and the monies, go for it. I just remembered 5 monies. I think I'm going to insert it if I can find it. 5 monies.
Where did you buy it from?
From the Catholic store.
And how much did you pay for it?
5.
5 what?
5 money.
5 monies?
Yes.
Okay. And
So that is the first advantage, is that it is dirt cheap to work online. The second advantage is that it's easy to set up. You literally can set up an online page, an online store or social media page within minutes. Okay, maybe not an online store. An online store takes a bit longer, but it's much quicker than actually having to secure a lease, paint the store, bring in the clothes. You can see why I lean towards online. I was, what is it called? Burnt. I think that's how they say. Anyhow, disadvantages is that people can't try on your clothes, which is the most challenging part of selling online. There is technology for the bigger brands. Like for example, Nike takes a scan of your foot and recommends what shoe size you should be wearing without you having to go try on the shoe, which is amazing, right? But for small businesses like myself, I can't do that. So I rely on a well-used sizing chart that is employed by lots of retailers. So if you are a 36 here, chances are you're 36 at another shop and another shop and another shop. So that is the universal, South African sizing chart that I use. And then second advantage, in South Africa, guys, there's scammers, there's crime. Also, our country is not as advanced as other countries, so buying online and trusting someone you've never met, something you've never seen or touched, can be a bit of a challenge. So that is one of the biggest disadvantages of selling online. But like when there's always a problem, as I say, there's always a solution. Engage with your customers, build that trust, and this is, I'm going to discuss in a social media video, but small things like that build trust. when you maybe like their pictures too, or you follow them back, or you comment, or it builds that trust. And I think somehow over time they realize, oh, actually maybe it's a person, it's a trustworthy person, and it works. Another thing is to use customers who have purchased from you to post your pictures, because then that vouchers for you, so people can see that other people have purchased and they weren't scammed. It's small things that basically build trust, and it's needed, especially in our country. The other option is a walk-in store. I've already trash talked this one to pieces, but if you are feeling rich in this economy, and I think actually because oh gosh guys, this pandemic, now that I think about it, you might find that some companies are leasing out. Firstly, people now are working from home if they're not in the office. I don't know actually, maybe some people are actually going into the office, but I do suspect that commercial property is going to struggle a bit. Like in December 2019, Twitter announced that their employees would be able to work from home fully, like on a full-time basis. And I think the pandemic has fast-tracked this for a lot of other companies. So in my mind, I'm not sure, please don't hold a gun to my head or take this as the Bible, no. I do suspect that commercial property is going to suffer a huge knock from this pandemic. You'll find that some companies will see that maybe actually people can be productive at home, therefore there is no need to have a gigantic office. We can scale down, and that scale down is going to cripple, guys, it's my opinion, please don't shoot me, might cripple the commercial property industry. And if you have money, like some people who have been buying property during this time, you might find that maybe leases are coming out cheaper. So maybe what was a 10,000 Rand a month rental for a store might come down to 8. I don't know, I'm just thinking. But maybe that is the big advantage. But it still is a disadvantage in my eyes, because rental space is so expensive. Also with people buying online, South Africa has seen an uptake in online sales significantly from the time before the pandemic started. And with people going less to malls, will it really be as beneficial to have a walk-in store? I don't know. But that is one of the advantages, is that some people still do go to malls, and some people still do want to walk in and feel the fabric and try it on and have the whole experience. So that is definitely an advantage, that people can try it on. People get your in-store experience, they engage with the salesperson, and that's another advantage. Once people are in the shop, you have the opportunity to upsell people. So if someone came in wanting a jacket, you can actually be like, you know what, no babes, you actually need the scarf to go with it, because it's a whole look, it's a trend, it's on. So there are the advantages and disadvantages of both being in an actual physical space as well as being completely online. But there are some brands who actually make use of both. And some of these stores basically make a trade, well, they don't make a trade-off, but they basically leverage having both platforms, where they might have an online store for their brand, but they stock another store physically. And I did this for a little while back in 2019, where I still had my online store, but you could find my clothes at 44 Stanley in Joburg, Mill Park, if you know Joburg. And it is a much cheaper way, instead of having your own shop, because all you do is pay for the space you use on the rail, like you would. You'll find that a full rail might be, for argument's sake, 2,000 Rand, but if you use half of it, you pay 1,000 Rand. And then what they do is then they take a percentage of your sales. So you're making less money than you would if you sold it yourself, but the ability to have a physical presence within a shop is great, because you get some customers who might be a 34, but they look better in a 38, and they actually might need to try it on in order to see it. So it's always great to say, if customers come to you and they ask you, oh, do you have a shop? Well, no, I don't, but you can see some of the collection at the shop in Joburg, which is always great. I think if, as a brand, you really do want to have a physical presence, it is much better to stock an existing boutique rather than having your own shop. The cost is way less, still a bit expensive and a bit taxing in terms of consignment or commission, but it's much better than paying your own rent. Another way, which a lot of brands do and is actually quite beneficial and quite inexpensive, is to have pop-up stores. There is a mall in Newtown in Joburg where you can literally have a pop-up. I don't know how long, I think it's 3 months, where for 3 months you have your shop. People can come in and buy and whatnot, and after 3 months you pack up and you go back online or you go wherever. I think Melville, the Container Mall, also does it. Can't remember the names, but I'll actually get links and drop them down below. But there's options, guys. If you really want a physical presence, that's great. Lee Beck's, the plus size clothing brand, she does pop-ups, which is great because it gives people an opportunity to try on clothes and also build that trust. So if I've seen a brand and I've engaged with it, it'll make me less worried when I'm purchasing online because I know they exist. I know they are there. I tried their clothes on and I am actually a size 36 with their brand. So whenever I buy in size 36. So there are a very great advantages to having a physical store, and they actually pay up in the end. Okay, and a few more advantages is that returns and exchanges are dramatically reduced because people tried it on before they bought it, which again, thanks to the pandemic, is not allowed anymore. I went to the store the other day, I wanted to try something on, and I was like, what? Can't try it on? Okay, cool. So maybe that might not be as an advantage as it was. Maybe possibly actually it might cause a spike in exchanges because you didn't try it on. You went all the way home, you tried it on at home and it wasn't fitting correctly and you had to drive back. I don't know. I feel like the pandemic has turned everything upside down. Whilst online is booming, physical stores are declining. I mean, sales through physical stores might be declining, but the whole process now of going home to check how it fits and then having to come back to exchange it, for me, I'd just be like, no, I'd rather buy it online because I know the return and exchange is free. I don't know. I feel like the advantages and disadvantages are topsy-turvy because of the pandemic, but honestly, I think with your brand, you need to really think about it, what you might find works best for you, and let me know what you decide. What do you think actually would be better during this time? To rather have an online presence or rather have an online presence with a physical presence or purely physical? I don't know. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I will be definitely back with another video. And thank you guys. I've joined YouTubers, so I'm going to say it. Thank you for joining. Please like, please subscribe, and do the notification bell. I'm new, I'm learning, but I'm getting there. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.